Howdy y'all, Joe Hills here recording as I was due in Nashville, Tennessee, and wow, it has been a laborious Labor Day weekend. We have had a lot going on at home, which has kept me plenty busy. But you know what? I had a little bit of time while my daughter was waking up early and trying to keep her busy away from my wife to kind of get this roof started on. These plants that we planted here, I've managed to turn into the purple blocks that will now serve as this awesome roof. Now, you guys might be like, well, Joe, that seems like it's vaulted in a lot of weird ways. Well, that's entirely because of how the internal spaces here are. Now, I might replace some of these dark woods here with dark wood stairs or whatever, but on the whole, been pretty happy with my progress. Once again, unfortunately, doing that off camera while keeping my daughter entertained. So, that was not a good way to jump off of there. I was hoping to glide out the door. Let's eat something to, rejuvenate our strength. I was hoping to glide out the door and spin around, show you how cool the roof looked from over here. But, that's fine too. This is okay. But anyway, this video is not about roofs that come from purple trees, or even roofs that come from purple trees. This is a video about the branching possibilities of realities and dreams. And I gotta tell you, I got a new pillow yesterday, which it was Labor Day, and I don't love spending money on holidays, but we're trying to potty train our daughter, and I really needed to go to the store. I mean, well, technically she's potty trained for everything except for, like, nighttime bedwetting. And we're trying to get her to get out of that habit. She's almost 5 in February, so, like, she needs to be not wet in the bed at night. So anyway, I needed to buy her extra sheets, and I went to the store, and I was like, I also really need a new pillow for myself, because my current pillow is super old and terrible, and I'm not sleeping well at night. So I thought, I'll get a new pillow. And, I'm not going to recommend this particular brand of pillow because the company is not paying me to. So I'll let you figure out. You guys can go to the store and try pillows out and find one that suits you. I'm not going to tell you this is Joe Hills' pillow of choice. But anyway, this pillow is really great. And I know this because I bought my wife one because she had complained that her pillow was old. It's kind of like an anniversary gift, because when you have a kid and are, one of you's in grad school, anniversary gifts get very practical. I got her some other stuff too, but I knew from trying out her pillow that this was going to be a good one because I had taken naps on it and really liked it. And man, when I went to sleep last night, I completely just passed out. Just like this pillow, it worked. And I had the weirdest, most incredibly vivid dream. And this is going to sound like something out of my Hermitcraft fanfiction series, because it combines a bunch of elements from different TV shows and people I know in real life and on Hermitcraft and whatnot. But it was a crazy dream, and I took notes on it, which I should pull up now. One second, let me pull up my notes, because I had the dream about 4 hours ago, and I did not want to miss any of the details. I've spent a lot of the weekend looking at these branching purple trees in order to prepare that roof up there, and I gotta say, I think that blended with watching Man in the High Castle lately kind of gave me a really weird starting place for this dream. So the core concept of it is that there are branches of reality that are kind of at the top, like alternate versions or alternate dimensions or something, and then there's one reality at the very bottom. And stuff can fall from the top realities through the middle ones down to the bottom. Like things, people, objects, and, like in the case of the show The Man in the High Castle, they kind of have this with films passing sideways through realities, but this is more like a pachinko machine of realities. And I had this dream that I fell through all these realities to the one at the very bottom. And it was kind of almost like something out of the movie WALL-E by Disney, where there's just junk everywhere because buttons and coins and random toasters and objects have just fallen through all these other realities, and they couldn't fall any further than this one. And everything, it was very wintry, even though it was still the same time of year. It was still September, but I'm guessing that ecologically speaking, all this stuff fallen wouldn't be great. But the weirdest thing with the dream initially, so I've fall through these realities to this bottom one, and I'm like, this is really weird. And there is Good Times with Scar, who I met at Minecon. So it's not just like I'm dreaming about somebody I met on the internet. I'm actually dreaming about somebody I met on California. And Good Times with Scar is there. And he's just like, hey, and he like welcomes me to this dimension. He's apparently has met several of me at various times in the past, that like alternate versions of me that have fallen through time. And he asked me a few questions about like what kind of technology we have where I'm from, and like how many states there are in my country, that sort of thing. And he figures out kind of which branch in realities I fell out of. And he's just like, don't freak out too much. This happens a lot. Not to you in your reality, because you guys are like near the top, so people don't fall through all the time. But like here this happens all the time. So like society is used to it. You'll be fine. We're gonna get you. You can watch this film about like how our world works. And like he had this like weird like instructional, or not instructional, but like promotional video, like welcome. So for a long time we didn't know what was happening, and people would get on a train, and then when they got to their destination there would be more people than had gotten on the train. Or people would think it was weird that there were just extra carts in the street. Or when you go out on a boat, you'd find people floating in the middle of the ocean. Like they just assumed like other people were bad sailors. But it turns out we've recently proven, because of increased incidents of this, that people and objects are just falling through these pachinko pins of reality into like ours. And don't worry, we're used to it. You'll be fine. So I'm just like, okay, that's weird, but okay. And so then this like bizarre, like super futuristic looking jet thing like shimmers into existence and almost crashes into like Good Times with Scar's laboratory, where he apparently is a scientist who like studies this phenomena. And he's like on the phone with another one of him in another city. And in this dream, we were both in Nashville, like his laboratory was based out of Vanderbilt. And apparently, though, there are Good Times with Scars all over the world in this reality, because he, in almost every reality, is like somebody who studies this and then accidentally ends up getting pulled down lower into the next dimension below him until he reaches the bottom. And so like different Good Times with Scars all over the world are collecting research on this phenomena. And like also they're doing like explosive ordinance disposal, because like sometimes like other versions of him upstream reality wise are trying to do experiments, and they'll accidentally like have a nuclear reactor get sucked back in, or sucked downward into the next plane of existence. And because other versions of him have designed these experiments and these reactors, he's uniquely well suited to like deal with that and to defuse or disarm or fix them. But so and I'm gonna keep saying the weird thing about this, because there's a lot of weird things about this. But I'm kind of like, okay, so this jet like freaks out and flickers into existence out of nowhere and like crashes right in front of Scar's lab, and he has to like hang up on his teleconference with other versions of him to like run over there with a bunch of his staff and fix, like basically make sure that the jet's like nuclear core doesn't blow up. And once they ascertain that it will certainly blow up, they like basically dump it in a blast shielded bay that they have for this, because apparently this happens all the time. Like, and if anything he can't stop from exploding, they just like have like an underground bunker that they drop the thing into or push the thing into, and then everybody like punches out via these sideways elevators. And so I got separated from Scar, and I'm like, I don't know where to go, because this like sideways elevator thing dumps me off a good distance away. I guess if you're going to build like an emergency escape system for some sort of bunker where you have planes explode, you tend to have that go like a mile away. But anyway, so I was on the other side of the bay when the thing started to go critical, and so I get in a different sideways elevator train emergency cart than everybody else, and I get separated, and so then I find this this like truck that Scar had parked like near the exit of the elevator thing, and I was just like, okay, well, you know, I was with Scar, and this truck recognizes me and is allowing me to drive it. So I guess that's cool if I like try to drive it back to his lab. And this is kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I'm not really good at driving trucks, and this is like a real truck, like a semi-truck with like a bunch of equipment in the back, and you know, I don't know how to unhitch the trailer from it. And this other guy in like a laboratory truck, like at one point I get out of the truck, and this guy sees me and like basically tackles me, and it's just like, who are you? You're stealing Scar's truck, blah blah blah. And at about that time, Scar and the other people from his lab like come to collect me, and they're like, no, he's cool, he's cool. And the guy asks, oh well, where's he from? And Scar says he's from Tiki World, and I was just like, that's a weird thing to say. I'm not from an island world or anything like that. When I woke up though, I was just like, dang it, that's what our dimension is known as, Tiki World, because of this stupid stuff going on. Anyway, I was so mad about that when I woke up, but at the time, I didn't really parse it, like in the dream. But yeah, like Tiki World, like tiki torches, is what they call our home dimension, you the viewer's home dimension. In this setting would be called Tiki World, which I felt was not great. But and the guy was just like said to Scar, oh, I don't know that one. And Scar's like, well, you know the ones with the collapse? Yeah, it's one of them. So it's like, okay, great. We've got some sort of weird thing, and over time, you know, I keep trying to like buy things, because one of the things that the video mentioned was that like there was like some sort of government identity management system where even though I wasn't necessarily in the system yet, I'd be able to buy food, and then they would like get back to me later about paying for it, because apparently, you know, they have enough like people just show up that they kind of need to have a way to make sure that they don't starve to death. So anyway, I'm like trying to buy food at these different stores or whatever, and the computers keep not working. And Scar explains to me that that's because my identity isn't trackable in computer systems. And I'm just kind of like, well, what's so special about me that my identity isn't trackable in computer systems? And he's just like, oh, well, there's one of you that showed up a few years ago that always kills other versions of you. And so you have to kind of do this like identity disguise thing. We're going to have to set you up with a false identity that can't be linked to your actual identity, so that one doesn't find you. And I'm kind of like freaking out about that. And I'm like, wait, what, Scar? How is there a version of me? Like, how is that okay? Like, and he's just like, no, don't feel bad, don't worry. This sort of thing happens all the time, you know. Out of the hundreds of versions of me all over the world that are working on the science of this like weird dimension thing, there's at least like 5 or 6 that have teamed up to be like a supervillain club. So I mean, you know, at least your guy's just like only targeting you and not everyone. And I was just kind of like, I don't find that especially reassuring. But yeah, and like I ran into a few other people that I know in real life in the dream, and then when they saw me, they were kind of like worried that I was the hunter version of me at first, and then when they found out I wasn't, they were like, well, you know, you need to get out of here because, you know, you're a real danger to yourself. And it's like, well, don't love that. But let's see. I've got. Oh, yeah. I'm looking through my notes here. I think I've covered most of the big high points. But one of the cool things. So, like I said, Scar did like part of his job, in addition to the actual like research he was doing on the way the dimensional shifts and stuff worked, was that he was also in charge of like unexploded ordinance disposal. And so like if landmines or missiles or bombs or anything slipped through the cracks of these realities and landed at the bottom, along with the toasters and buttons and coins and everything else that kept falling through, then it was Scar's job to manage a team in whatever city that they found the bomb or whatever to disarm it. And some of this stuff was like mundane stuff, like the sort of thing that, they find in the British countryside. And like, after World War II, there were unexploded artillery shells all over the place. And in some places there still are, there's still landmines left over from Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos. So anyway, the idea of, if you think about how many dimensions above them would have had wars where stuff like was just lying around ready for somebody to accidentally kick it, and then all of that stuff is fallen downward continuously through the cracks of reality until they land at Scar's doorstep. You basically need a guy who's an expert in like all these different types of things, or somebody to run a team that's an expert in this ordnance demolition or destruction. And so he was showing me, though, he's like, it's weird because, we have some technologies we developed ourselves here in this world. We have some technologies that me or other people have brought with us from our own worlds. And then occasionally we'll just see something that's just like absolutely crazy. And we're not sure which world it's from, but we are willing to bet that we probably won't meet anyone from there, because if these are the sorts of weapons they're using, it's gotten a little bit out of hand. And he shows me this thing that's like a sourdough starter yeast, and if you expose it to heat and water, it just expands like a never-ending blob. And so if you like carried this into a building and set it off, it would just fill the entire building with this sourdough, and like just like suffocate or smother everyone. And I'm just like, whoa, that is really scary. And he's like, yeah, but here's the craziest part. Apparently, the genetic designer of this weapon thought that it would be cool if, when parts of the blob of dough like extruded out windows and doors of the building, that it would make really crazy laughing vampire faces. And it was just like, it wasn't like a nightmarish thing like, oh no, I feel like I'm in imminent danger, but it was like one of the most creepy visuals I've had in a dream. So anyway, honestly, that was kind of one of the last things that happened in the dream before I woke up. But I was just thinking like, man, that was a weird dream. And this pillow company, they apparently make a pillow that gets you a really deep sleep, because I did not wake up through any of that. Although, once again, this is not sponsored content. And honestly, given like the insanity of the entire dream I had, I don't know that they would want to pay me to promote their pillows, because it would be like, hey man, you want to have really terrified nightmare dreams? Try these pillows. It's the deepest sleep ever. But yeah, it was so crazy that I just, when I woke up, I just wrote down as much of it as I could right away, because I just was like, I know that there are pieces of this that came from things I've read recently or watched. Like I said, I watched Man in the High Castle recently, which has like kind of some interdimensional weirdness. I've read the Bobaverse books recently, and I think that all of the different good times with Scars interacting and solving problems together is reminiscent of the different Bobs from the Bobaverse book. Dang it. I think the Tiki Torches thing is clearly from the local news. Well, not local, because I'm not from Charlottesville, but still, from watching the news. But yeah, all these different weird pieces. I'm guessing the creepy vampire faces is from building a vampire castle with all my free time. Yeah. Pachinko reality, Joe falling to the bottom. Oh yeah, one of the things too, there's no way to get back up. Like, you can only move downward through this reality stack or tree. You can never move upward, or at least as far as anyone knows. And there are ways to nudge things downward, as Scar in his various research roles in different dimensions has learned, and frequently nudged himself downward by accident. But there's no way, as far as anyone can tell, to actually push anything up. And there were a couple really neat things kind of about their society, though, in that, like, they didn't really need to mine for anything because stuff would just show up, like refined metals and things, which, so, you know, it'd be one of those things where, like, people would know, hey, if you wake up and you have an extra toaster in your kitchen or a pile of toasters, you know, bring it to the local recycling place and they'll strip out the useful metals and everything. Like, it's like a recycling-driven society that also has, like, a lot of just... that's constantly being attacked accidentally as bombs and other things that are dangerous fall through. Like, the upstream realities aren't going out of their way to strike at them, but, like, it's, there's just a lot of weapons lying around, and unfortunately, you don't want to be where they end up. So, anyway, just kind of a weird dream. Don't really know how much I have to add to all this. So, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I've got a lot of materials that I needed to gather to continue with our build. Oh, one thing you'll notice is I've actually started lowering this wall some. I actually built this wall 2 meters too high, and it affects how much of the roof you can see in the distance, and I don't like that. It also affects the view of the rest of the area from the castle itself. So I'm going to be messing with that the next few days, but I don't plan to do all that on camera, because that's a lot of roof moving. I'm guessing there's a skeleton under a tree somewhere that just shot me, but oh, no, he's not under a tree at all. He's under fire. No, wait, he's on fire. The opposite. There you go. How are you not dead? This is some really good golden armor. Okay. So, there we go. On fire skeleton. Let's see. So, for the remainder of this week's episodes, in addition to continuing to work on the castle's roof and things like that, we've got some conical tops to put on some of these towers and things. I want to most immediately do some interior work on my death house. I've been thinking a lot and learning a lot as I've been working on the Ravenloft setting. One of the big things holding me up with the death house was that I did not want to I didn't want to work on the roof of the death house until I had the castle started being constructed, so that way it could show up in the background while I'm building, right? This is going to be way cooler building this roof in a future episode while I've got that behind me. So, yeah. More of that. Whoa. We got plenty of detail to add here. Look at this master bedroom. Not complete. Actually, is that the master bedroom? That might be the dining room. I don't know which floor I fell to. Servants' quarters? Yeah, this is the piano room. A lot of detail work left to be done. Got to put in all the furniture, all of the beds, which I guess are technically furniture. So we've got non-functional furniture that'll just look nice. We've got stuff like beds that actually like is a Hermitcraft or Minecraft object. I don't know if beds are in Minecraft or just in Hermitcraft. They might be something Asuma added. He's always putting in command blocks and stuff. And we've got the roof here. I'm hoping to do a playable test of this with some patrons this weekend. So if you are considering joining my Patreon server, might be a good time to join. I'm going to be generating some level 2 character sheets for folks to play this Saturday night. And hopefully I'll have this far enough along that we can actually play this. So anyway, until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.